Okay, so I've been reading through this sovereignty file framework, and the central idea is pretty intense. It basically says that for centuries, we've been teaching people to treat their own bodies like a crime scene, right? And the framework calls this a jurisdictional vacancy, meaning if I don't trust my own internal experience, I have to hand over the interpretation to someone else. But here's where people push back. When you say the antidote is protective sexual literacy, a lot of people hear exposure. They think you want to sexualize kids. So literacy is about giving them a map before the world gives them a counterfeit one.
Exactly. When sexual development is governed by taboo and shame, the body becomes morally suspicious before any harm has even occurred. You're trained to interpret ordinary curiosity or arousal as evidence against yourself. Yes, you become dependent on external authorities, whether that's a religious institution, purity culture, or even pornography and peer pressure to tell you what your body means. You lose jurisdiction over your own territory. That's the most common misunderstanding, and the distinction is non-negotiable. Literacy is not exposure. A child learning the proper name for body parts and boundaries is literacy. A child encountering pornography is exposure. Precisely, the maxim is teach reality. Do not stage arousal. Normalize knowledge. Do not normalize intrusion. Protect curiosity from capture.
Let's talk about the neurobiology because this blew my mind. The idea that taboo actually fuels the behavior, it's trying to stop. So demystifying it, talking about it clinically and factually actually lowers the voltage. Okay, let's look at the actual architecture of this, the 4-quadrant model. It splits things into interior versus exterior and individual versus collective.
It's the adrenaline loop. When you treat sexuality as a forbidden mystery, you add an adrenaline spike to the dopamine reward. For someone with a dysregulated nervous system, that forbidden charge acts like a drug. Shame doesn't stop the behavior. It electrifies the forbidden. Yes, literacy acts as a coolant. It grounds the circuit. It removes the adrenaline spike so the impulse can be observed and governed, rather than compulsively acted upon, right? Quadrant 1 is subjective jurisdiction, how you interpret yourself. Quadrant 2 is behavioral jurisdiction, your actual conduct and boundaries. Quadrant 3 is cultural jurisdiction, stigma and norms. And Quadrant 4 is systemic jurisdiction, law and clinical access.
And the framework shows how this system collapses. It starts in Q3 with crude cultural stigma, calling people monsters. So the fix, the restoration pathway, reverses that. It starts with structural precision in Q4, separating the condition from the conduct. But wait, if we're normalizing talking about high-risk conditions like pedophilic disorder, aren't we minimizing the harm?
Which leads to Q1 collapse, self-erasure. The person thinks, I am the danger. That drives them into secrecy in Q2, which means unmanaged risk. And finally, Q4 fails because the system only reacts after harm is done, instead of preventing it. Exactly, which allows for cultural literacy in Q3. We can name the risk without endorsing harm. That gives the person interior authorship in Q1. This is real, but it doesn't give me permission to harm, which finally secures behavioral safety in Q2. No, and that distinction is vital. Healthy normalization means we can discuss it clinically to make help possible. Harmful minimization means pretending the behavior isn't serious. We normalize disclosure, not abuse. We normalize prevention, not offending.
So the ethical center is name the condition precisely, condemn the harm absolutely, and keep the prevention door open. It really comes down to sovereignty. The ability to hold on to the no as your anchoring subject.
That's it. A mature society doesn't protect children by rendering reality unspeakable. It protects them by rendering reality precise. Shame hides risk. Literacy names it. Law restrains harm. Clinical access prevents it. Yes, shame makes the body a crime scene. Precision restores it to a jurisdiction. Literacy provides the map. And boundaries secure the peace.